good evening, and welcome back to part 2 of the Prime League reviews. We're going to watch the Unicorns vs. Ad Hoc game, and we're going to follow this on, continuing our theme, looking at how
Präferenz.
teams
Ich
make a team identity. So one of the things to note with the Unicorns, they had played the Talia a lot. Very similar to Game of Legion in that sense. They played a very aggressive style, very in your face. Agron was hyper aggressive on this pick. He was really trying to get into teams and abuse their early game. And Ad Hoc taking the Affiliates here kind of signals that they just want to survive that. Same with the Olaf, they're going to scale it out. They're going to try to get to 2 items. And then once they've got to that 2 items, just win by being mechanically superior players. I don't necessarily disagree with that assessment. I mean, Olaf Brom, this entire setup from Ad Hoc, by the way, is really good. The center into, or like the Brom into the center, yeah, it's not amazing. It's suboptimal, but Aphelios Brom, Olaf Brom, this is the jungler just shouldn't get to lane or shouldn't get to jungle on the bot side of the map right now. And given that they're going to see some funky shenanigans happen now, they should have an idea of what's coming. So let's let's digest this for a moment. Kayn Senna Shyvana from Unicorns. I I don't want to reach too much because obviously I've seen the game in the draft. I think it should be obvious to Ad Hoc that this is a Kayn mid, Shyvana jungle. AP Shyvana has seen some play in high elo solo queue. It's definitely something that's not new to people. This is a pick that a lot of people can play. A lot of people have been playing. Yes, it is the definition of cheese. This is cheesy. For any StarCraft fans, this is Haas. This is a Haas build, you know? And we're going to get cheesy. But Unicorns are tapping into this identity that they are going to play aggressive, they are going to play loose, and they're going to play in your face. And all of the picks they have so far do that. The center is comfortable laning, especially into a melee support. Kayn is a really good pick for neutralizing that mid, keeping it even, and then getting the aggressive trades and 2v2s with your jungle. The ability to roam so fast through that jungle, through those walls, it makes it very difficult once the Kayn has a few levels, once the Shyvana has access to the ult, to really take any trades. But before that, Unicorns are going to have a bit of a struggle. We're seeing some good bans. Again, the Rumble Diana, just stopping people that get that level 6 power spike. Because we just said that the Shyvana wants level 6. So getting rid of the Rumble, getting rid of the Diana, good bans here. Braum is picked, obviously Rakan, a well-known good pick into the Braum. It's annoying to play the lane as Braum, it's not impossible. And Thresh and Tahm Kench taken away from Ad Hoc. I don't really like the Tahm Kench ban here. I would maybe like to see Nautilus banned. Or Rakan banned, actually. Just personally. But, I mean, the Tahm Kench is also fine. Dreamer Ace is very well respected in the German scene, so it's fine. Ornn blind pick for Scarface. I feel bad. Scarface is a really good player. Gangplank is up, for example. I wouldn't have minded seeing a Gangplank blind here because there's not really much that can be taken into it that's going to punish it a lot, especially with the Olaf. I think you'll get some good gank setup. But Ornn, still good. Gives the engage, and now you also have the Ornn Braum. So you just have a ton of engage coming out from Ad Hoc. And they're a new team. They have a very simple composition. And the only thing that is a bit lackluster is the LeBlanc. Maybe there could have been a better pick there, but CO is also he does play the LeBlanc, and for whatever reason, the German league has always kind of just enjoyed playing LeBlanc, played around the LeBlanc a lot. Certus on Schalke, very well known for his LeBlanc. So yeah, LeBlanc is a bit more of a high priority pick, but maybe there could have been more. The LeBlanc is the only thing that jars here because the rest of your team is all about going in, all about that constant, consistent damage. You have LeBlanc. So obviously Syndra was banned, but there are other picks that you could have taken here that would have fit the comp a little bit more, but that's nitpicking. Ad hoc have still picked a composition that's straightforward, lots of engage, and basically just goes. Unicorns, same thing. They're playing to their identity. They want to be aggressive. They want to be in your face, and they're giving their players who are coming into this league as new faces. They're giving them their comfort. They're drafting to their comfort. They're drafting to their comfort win conditions. And they're just saying, look, we can play this style better than people who aren't used to playing against it. And that, as we're going to see, is something that really gives them a snowball to work with. So we're going to jump into the game. As much as I love the German casters. And what we're going to see is how unicorns survive this early game. Because if they survive the early game, if they survive until level 4-5 without a significant disadvantage, they're going to be in a pretty happy spot. But ad hoc, despite having good engage and having the tools to make plays, they do need to make some sort of play, some sort of tempo, because you have Olaf, you have Braum. There's no reason to really not make those plays. And, of course, ad hoc are going to go for this invade early on, but the real question, okay, let's unpack this. I've consistently said that you have Olaf Braum. Olaf Braum. The reason is that Olaf and Braum provide a lot of rundown potential. If the Olaf hits the undertow, and then the Braum hits that glacial bite, the passive, like the Q into the passive, you are almost guaranteed to burn a flash. But here we see ad hoc making the mistake that they're going to invade on the top side without Braum. So, and over a ward, but more importantly, without the Braum. So, Memento here is just basically trying to smite fight and doesn't win the smite fight, invades on the weak side, and ad hoc are forced to burn 2 flashes and 0 starts with the jump. So overall, not the best start for ad hoc. They would have wanted to get more from that, but yeah, invading onto the weak side like that is not great. It's not optimal. And again, this is what we're seeing. Suddenly, Envy Carry on this Kane goes from having a pretty bad lane to, oh, well, you have jump. I can just jump on you. There's nothing you can do anymore. And that's all just from that failed level 1 by ad hoc. And really, this is where we're going to see this snowball start from Unicorns. And I think they just play their comp to perfection. Obviously, you know, Kane is not going to have a great time against LeBlanc early, but as we see the Kane pick up a couple of levels, pick up the ability to farm a little bit more safe, we're going to see that it gets better. So Memento did a clear of his bot side, is going to recall now and go into the bot side jungle, but with the Braum, and this is what I wanted to see, but ad hoc really could have been doing this from level 1. They could have been already in this jungle, but instead, now they're going to take a contest, and yeah, they should win this, but they're actually forced off because the Olaf doesn't have the flash, and they don't know where the Kane is since he just recalled, it is risky for them. And ultimately, Memento gets absolutely nothing despite having by far the better early jungle pick. And I don't want to sound like a broken record, but it all comes back to that early game. Had Memento chosen to path through bot side, starting at the at Agron's blue, and then either going blue to blue to contest Agron, or just doing the entire bot side jungle. Take blue, Gromp, do your full bot side, recall, or take bot scuttle, recall, do your top side, do scuttle. You would have a massive advantage over the Shyvana, who, if you've denied the vision from appropriately, is going to have a rough time farming. That's why we don't see things like Shyvana in top tier professional play, because if you get the right wards out, then it becomes very hard for Shyvana to do the things she wants to do, which is power farm. So, Ad Hoc picked to their team identity really well, but their in-game plan lacked the focus that was necessary to really punish from that. Cries here steps up a lot. This is just a bit of a bad read by Cries. Doesn't have to burn anything because obviously Phase Rush is a great rune and Rise is a great champion, but still shouldn't have been up that far. Is going to burn the TP to get back. Small mistake from Cries. And given that Cries is a rookie to the Prime League, one of those things that you expect aggression in the bot lane, but nothing can happen from it. Even if you hit the Winter's Bite and the stun from the Gravitum gun on Aphelios, it's very hard to make any plays. And, okay, this is where the fun begins. Both Olaf and Shyvana are exceptionally good at taking dragons. And given the fact that unicorns are losing the bot side, you would expect that they should be the one getting the dragon. But unfortunately, Agarin one step ahead, and that comes down to just the pathing. Just the way that he was able to path against Memento, who didn't get that early game advantage, and is still even now with the Shyvana, despite Shyvana taking a dragon. So as we're seeing, these small little mistakes from Ad Hoc or from any of the teams, we saw it with Gamer Legion in the first game. Small mistakes are unraveling what's happened in draft, and the teams that have played more towards their identity and their win condition, they're more familiar with these scenarios. They're going to play them more. They're going to know what's next. What's the next objective? Where do we go next? What do we do next? Because they're more familiar. You're more comfortable. And just like any sport, and this is the fun part of Kane mid. You can make the most insane rooms from Kane just by running through that jungle wall. And Envy obviously picks up first blood, out roaming a LeBlanc. I feel like a lot of people probably wouldn't have expected that. I think this play is a waste time by Memento. He's just falling further behind. You can't really gank Rakan Senna with the Braum. It's not. They really have to make a mistake for you to be able to punish that. And pre-Braum ult, it's very difficult. Envy's there as well. Yeah, just look at how quick Envy's able to get up to top and make that play happen. Not 100% sure. I think he needed to flash there, actually. I think that's a mistake for him to flash. He could have ulted as the Ornn started the ult, and I think he wouldn't have been... He could have stayed in Ornn long enough that he wouldn't have been knocked up by the Call of the Forge. So a small mistake. And to hop on like a broken record, the jungle, the Olaf here is still not ahead of Shyvana. Shyvana's taken a Drake. Shyvana has reached level 6 unimpeded. I mean, one execute to bot tower after taking the dragon, but Agrina has access to dragon form now, and that's really scary because this is just going to get scarier. And Memento's timing is just 10, 15, 20 seconds behind from that early loss of jungle tempo. And he hasn't regained it. He hasn't reset or regained that tempo in his pathing. Note that all of his small camps are up right now. He was just bot side at 8 minutes 30 into the game with no dragon up and all of his camps up. What universe does a jungler have to be bot side? Like, let's have a wee gander here at what he was doing, because I feel like the answer is not a lot. So here, he pops the scrying plant. Is he stealing blue? He's stealing blue. But Rift Herald's up. You have priority mid, and Ornn can ult. You have priority mid, and you just steal their blue, despite both of your top camps being up, and Rift Herald being up. I don't think it's worth it. I just don't think. I think the amount of XP on the top side of the map right now is so much greater than taking the blue on vision without clearing the vision. It's just too rushed. He hasn't. What has happened? What happened is that Memento lost tempo at the beginning of the game, and this has just carried over. He hasn't reset his path at all to account for the fact that he got stifled early. And because of that, he is consistently 20, 30 seconds behind the play. And Agarin is capitalizing that perfectly. Ran over a... he ran over a ward to get there. Kryze tried to ult out, and because Memento thought he was going to get away, he didn't continue running at him, despite Ornn ult interrupting it. Interesting. Not quite on the same page between Scarface and Memento there. A bit of a whoopsie. Actually, before I, talk bad about Memento, maybe I should watch that again and make sure that it would have. Does he? Yeah, I think Memento can actually make a play there. It's a flashless Kryze. He has ult. I think he runs him down. I think he could run him down. Actually, Phase Rush is broken. Maybe he can't. I still would have liked to see him go for the try. Rather than doing nothing, which is doing right now. 0-0-0 Olaf. 10 minutes into the game. And... AP Shyvana damage. I love it. We're seeing unicorns. Yes, they're not playing the Talia Pantheon, let's dive bot and get 4 kills at 6 minutes into the guild, 4 minutes into the game. They're not playing to kill and be aggressive, but they're playing in Ad Hoc's face. They are playing to disrupt Ad Hoc and throw them off balance by giving them a scenario that they've likely never been in. And that's all you need to do when... that's all you need to do when you're playing a team that, on paper, or you believe, is more likely to win. I don't want to say better because that's it's a weird way to describe it, but unicorns are playing a style here to be unpredictable, but consistently they play in your face. They play to make you uncomfortable. And the same as the Talia Pantheon game against ESG that they played in game day 3, they're playing something similar here where it's the Kayn Shyvana roam burst damage, kill everything basically on sight. I mean, you're seeing the Shyvana damage there. Zio is just 2 E's from Shyvana, and he's not going to be having a nice day. And then the amount of follow up you have with Senna, Rise, Kayn, you have so much consistent damage, just meddled in with a Shyvana. They do lack a bit of wave clear, just because Senna's not great at that. So had they fallen behind and lost first Baron, this game would be very different. But just superb game plan, basically, from Unicorns to follow their draft plan. Admittedly, a small bit of throw from ad hoc and momentous pathing that definitely helps. But one of the things about regional leagues is you can't play the game and expect the enemy to play perfectly. It's just never going to happen. The enemy's never going to play perfectly. So having a composition that relies on your enemy making a mistake, as long as the mistake window isn't tiny, as long as you're not talking about, the tiny mistake windows of some LEC standardized bot lanes, especially with Thresh. It doesn't. You don't need to play perfect, and the in-your-face identity that unicorns have really does just play well into the regional leagues. And I'm excited to see how they continue to play like this. Obviously, there's only so many bans, so if you ban the Talia, maybe they play the Shyvana again. Maybe they play something different. Don't want to give anything away. I don't want to speculate because I don't know. Maybe maybe I accidentally speculate and reveal something. But overall, I think that this is definitely a team who play for their own style, not for what is being played by the meta, basically. So we're going to see that Zio has really fun time playing against AP Shyvana. Actually, do you know what could have been excellent here? I didn't think about this, and I don't know how good it would have been into Kayn, but maybe Kayn, actually, with the Olaf, I think this would be a better option. Galio. Galio would have been able to itemize the MR necessary for the Rise. I guess Rise was last picked, but for the Shyvana, you're tanky enough to deal with Kayn. You can match the rooms post 6. Maybe the Galio actually was the best pick. That was a complete side tangent, but maybe just a bit of a thought. Or Nautilus. Just pick Nautilus. Broken champion. So we do see ad hoc getting the rift against the turn of play. And taking a fight on the back end, which falls back into that does comically little damage to Ornn. It falls back into this idea that no teams play perfectly, because honestly, Unicorns had no right to contest that Rift Herald. I guess they're just slowing ad hoc while Rise splits, which is fine. Kryzes is really, really far ahead on this Rise, and we've all seen what happens to Rise in the late game. He rises to the occasion. And I guess it's a fine trade. They probably could have done it without losing Dream Erase there. A bit of an ambitious trade in. Yeah. The more I watch LeBlanc and how LeBlanc's trading pattern works, the less I like the pick. which I guess is my one complaint about this draft. And again, I don't want to like take away from Ad Hoc's draft. I think their draft was really good. They have a good plan. They have a lot of good things going for them. They dropped the ball in game. That said, despite dropping the ball in game and being behind, their comp still has a lot of easy things to do, a lot of easy ways to win the game. Trading 1-for-1 where Rise gets a kill for LeBlanc getting a kill, I don't think that's a good trade. Anytime Rise is trading a 1-for-1 kill, I'm kind of happy for the Rise. 1 second, I have to sneeze. Aye, aye, aye. Cold season. Insert generic coronavirus joke here. Anytime Rise is trading 1-for-1, you're pretty content. And again, I want to take away from either draft. I think they are both really good drafts for each team. Just small nitpicking about the LeBlanc. This is a really nice catch from Zio, actually. I don't know how he has vision. I don't see a ward, so maybe it was just a blind check. Maybe he saw him walk through the wall, I guess, would be the way. But still, good catch by Zero. Gets caught out by Cries. I believe burnt Cries flash. So it is a flashless Rise now in that side lane. So in a ideal world, maybe they can make a play on that. And we are seeing this mid game where the tools that Ad Hoc have drafted are paying dividends. They're getting towers. They're able to siege. They're able to put pressure on the map and transition that into push. But 3 Drakes from Unicorns by this time is scary. And like we discussed in the other video, yes, getting towers is good, and you can trade early Drakes for towers, but Ad Hoc only have 2 towers. They haven't really extended their lead. They lost the early Drakes and the early Rift Herald, and the inability to really get ahead against that Drake stacking now means that Ad Hoc are on massive time pressure, because the next Drake in 2 minutes 20, that can win the game for Unicorns. I'm not 100% sure if we've seen a Soul in LEC yet, but anytime a team is threatening that Soul, we see the team fights happen. And there's a good reason. Like, the Souls are strong, and especially on a Shyvana, but more so because the composition from Unicorns, if you're allowed to reset using the Rakan ult or the Rise ult to reposition a fight, or Envy just gets over a wall for 6 seconds, the Ocean Soul is going to be very good against the pseudo all-in poke composition coming out from Ad Hoc. And now we get to see comical AP Shyvana damage. It's not the cleanest engage from either team, but Ad Hoc kind of overextend their lead here. They're trying too hard to force onto Unicorns when they could have just waited. There's nothing really to play for. The Drake is in 60 seconds, and burning cooldowns 60 seconds before the Drake that aren't going to be up when Drake is up, you're just asking for trouble. And off this, Unicorns are going to break the base. They get the mid inhib. Had we taken this, let's go back to before this all starts. Actually, it starts out with Freeze missing the Aphelios ult. But why was he trying to ult in that situation? Where are his guns? Chakram and Gravitum, I think he has as his other gun. That's why he led with it. Is it Gravitum? It is Gravitum, and he misses with the Gravitum. It's on to 2. I still think that's risky. That's not the form of engage you really want to go with. Aphelios ult can engage. It's just not the greatest form of engage. I don't think it's worth leading with. Um, and especially not when you know that they're about to group up for Dragon. Like, you know that they're about to group up. Just wait. Just be patient. But instead, they kind of go for this Hail Mary play that you can see teams make when they're feeling pressured. And the consistent pattern we're seeing here is teams at this level make mistakes. If you can build a comp that gives you a win condition that is time pressure, these are just far more effective at the era level than they are at professional level. And teams underestimate them. We're not seeing them played in every scenario, and yet they can be. I mean, we're seeing Unicorns take a game off Ad Hoc, who were tipped to be fairly high. We saw My Insanity take a game off Gamer Legion, who again rated fairly highly. The teams lower in the standings seem to have its understanding that if they're going to win, they need to start putting pressure on the teams ranked above them. There are no tools for Ad Hoc right now to like make this fight stick because Braum doesn't have flash, Aphelios doesn't have flash. They get some kills. This is great. I guess they traded 2 for 2, but the important part is they lost Soul. And they're not even going to trade 2 for 2, actually. They're all going to die. Never mind. Uh, actually, Zero probably can escape. I don't think they should be out. Actually, it's Kane, so maybe they can. Yeah. Uh, Kane, ladies and gentlemen, can go through walls. Honestly, they probably could just be on Baron right now. Like, Envy Carry could just be on Baron. They do really desync Zio's back or death from the rest, which is really, really underrated. It is such a tempo enabling tool to do is once you've won a team fight, allow the other guy to just walk away until 10, 15 seconds after the team fight is over, then kill him. There's nothing he can do to stop you doing it, and it just gives you such a tempo advantage because they are offset by 10, 15 seconds, or more in this case. They get Baron. This game is trivially like it's over at this point unless Unicorns made a massive blunder and basically either DC'd or got aced and twice in a row. Which, yes, I know that I've said that teams make mistakes, but let's give these guys some credit. They are pretty good. And the compositions from both teams, yes, on paper, Ad Hoc's team comp is fine, but they didn't address the win condition that Unicorns have of this stacking threat, this doomsday clock, in essence. And it shows you that Unicorns have really, really tapped into the ideal, same as My Insanity did, that they can win a game not through necessarily being 100% or strictly better than their opponents, but by drafting win conditions that are just easier to obtain. And Ad Hoc played into that by just fumbling the early game. That all Ad Hoc had to do was fumble the early game a little bit. You know, a mistake that teams at all levels make. And that little mistake ended up costing them tempo and time, which started a snowball that they couldn't control. Cry's getting caught there was not great. That said, they did expend a lot of resources to catch him, so this fight is difficult for Ad Hoc to really take because they only have one ult on the Aphelios, which got used in killing Dreamer Ace, and Shyvana ult is, or Shyvana dragon form is still very, very strong. This was aggressive by Scarface. Doesn't get punished, but that was aggressive. To recap this game, because this game, I think, highlights really perfectly the differences between top tier professional play and regional league play, and how you draft in each. Having a win condition that is very straightforward, not necessarily the easiest to execute. Unicorn's comp is not easy to execute. It requires outplay, basically. The Kane into LeBlanc matchup, or Kane into any matchup, it's an outplay. Shyvana is an outplay champion. Same for Rise. I guess it's into Ornn in this case. There's nothing the Ornn can really do, but again, it could have been Gangplank, and I feel like Cries probably would have taken the same champion there. But they took a composition that has a very simple win condition. Get Drakes. Put the other team on a timer. And wait for the other team to make mistakes because they're on that timer. The damage from Agarin, by the way, is just really disgusting. Got blocked by the Brom Shield there, but I think there's a Q that comes up in mid later that is just really brutal to watch. I think he almost one shots freeze, and it's hilarious. It's very cathartic. Shout out to a friend of mine, Mus, who plays a lot of AP Shyvana. Watching him one shot people is very cathartic. So seeing Agarin do it as well, really nice. And at 28 minutes into the game, 28 minutes, 4 seconds, 5 seconds, we're 10 seconds away from a win condition. Not even like a maybe win condition, just a strict win condition. If you get Elder, the game's over. You can't, you really have to DC or walk away from your, like, turn your monitors off to lose a fight while you have Elder. I genuinely don't think a team can win against Elder in professional play, or even semi-professional play like the regional leagues. Quote unquote semi-professional. So 28 minutes into the game, you now have a win condition that is 7 minutes earlier than it could have been last season. And Unicorns just got it, basically. They made a few mistakes, they made a few fumbles, but they just pressured Ad Hoc into making more. They just pressured Ad Hoc into essentially having to make plays. And if you're being forced to make a play and you can't wait for the right time, you're never going to be as successful. And if you look at how Origin has dominated the first 3 games they've played, they're not dominating it through forcing plays. They're not dominating it through being aggressive and in your face and throwing punches left and right. They're controlling the game slow and steady. They can give up Drakes, and they know that they'll come back into the mid game and be able to control the game. But at a regional league level, where you don't have the same time or the same team synergy, the same team chemistry that is created at the LEC level, unless you're big or another the team that works similar to them, you are not going to be able to execute as reliably on compositions like that. And Ad Hoc didn't really do that here, but they didn't do themselves any favors by ignoring the dragons. And I mean, Elder here, like, just the Elder burn in this fight. Look at that. The Shyvana. It's just so disgusting. I like the int. Unfortunately, yeah, I like the int there. Um, but unicorns played their composition exactly how they wanted to play it, doing exactly what they needed to do, and pressured ad hoc into making mistakes. Because time was the biggest enemy of ad hoc in this game. If they had the time to make plays, to think about plays, to get the fights that were good for them rather than the fights that they felt pressured into making, they probably could have won this game. Their composition was very good. They had all the right win conditions. Just small mistakes snowballed so heavily because of the simplicity unicorns had in their comp or in their win condition. And the stark comparison compared to the first game that we reviewed, where both teams sort of, or rather, we saw My Insanity be able to pick a win condition that put time pressure on Gamer Legion, who then fumbled by feeling forced to make a play. That is an extremely underrated tool in a coach's arsenal when you're drafting, and I think unicorns have nailed it here. My Insanity, they didn't quite nail it. There was a couple of things that really relied on GL majorly dropping the ball, as opposed to this, where it was a 10-second delay on Memento, snowballed into Agarin being able to just be 30 seconds, 40 seconds to a minute ahead at the first dragon and the first Rift Herald that allowed unicorns to snowball. And that is really just it's an excellent example. And I just want to, I praise them on Twitter, but praise to Lion, the unicorns coach, who I believe is this rookie split of coaching. The nerve to trust your players so much that you allow them to run this comp, which is inherently risky, is really, really good. And Dreamer Ace, who is controlling the game from the inside with Agarin, that's just, it's really, really good. And I'm really interested to see how unicorns develop over this split. So that's going to be it for me today. Enjoy the 2 recordings. Enjoy the 3 recordings, because the third one is also coming out, where I did a duo with Ibras looking at the Ultraliga. So that's also fun. Enjoy. This one's slightly shorter. And I will see you all on the next review of either Prime League, Ultraliga, maybe some UK when it starts up, maybe some LEC. We'll see. Anyway, enjoy, have fun, and like, subscribe, follow me on Twitter. That will all be in the description as well. Good night.